everyone, it's Bryttannee, your makeup artist and MBA, and today we are going to talk about all the new sunscreen information that came out. So I have got all my research. I have the JAMA article, or the research study, prescribing information, my Marc clinical pharmacology book, and all kinds of fun data. So we're going to get started and we're going to talk about it. So this video, I'm sorry if I'm going to look down a lot because I actually want to read directly for you. I will also be putting either screenshots as well as links so you can see the articles directly. So this is all over the news today, which is obvious because it's about to be summer. And the JAMA, which is the Journal of American Medical Association, so it's just called JAMA for short in the industry, and they released a study on the effect of absorption of sunscreens, and they studied several different kinds. They say 2 sprays, a cream, and a lotion. So, cream sunscreen would be something like this. This is like your Neogen. A spray would be like the Ultra Sheer or the Sun Bum. And then a cream, I would think would be, or a lotion would be like the Sun Bum, Baby Bum. So I have a bunch of sunscreens in here. I just ran around. They didn't study powders. And they didn't study, I would consider this almost to be like this is a solid, so they didn't have anything like that. Or, this is a murad, this is like a gel. They didn't have anything like that. Another solid. These are really fun. The Bare Republic SPF 50, they come in all different colors. I love to use those. These two are my favorite. The Sparkling Rose and the Diamond Dust. Those give you like a really cool highlight. And they have like the neon ones I put on Baby Eric and all that kind of stuff. So, the big thing that's being, the 15 seconds you're going to get in the news is like basically sunscreens are now unsafe. That is not true. Even on the FDA website, this is the actual JAMA report. And on the FDA website, which I'll also link here, it's called Shedding New Light on Sunscreen Absorption. It is from Dr. Janet Woodcock, and she's the director of the Center of Drug Evaluation and Research. And I believe she pronounces it Teresa, it might be Theresa Michelle, MD. She's the director of the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, Non-Prescription Drug Office, which is the / Office of New Drugs. So when someone goes to get FDA approval, they have to go through the New Drug Office. So the biggest takeaways of this is that, so this is open, the FDA is open to comment period, a 60-day review period, which is normal. I'll send a link to you guys if you guys want to comment on this research on the FDA site. The comment for review ends June 27th. So basically that means any manufacturer, you yourself, a medical doctor, whomever can go on the FDA website and leave comments for review. Because basically what this will determine is if the FDA issues any new regulations. So it says specifically in the Shedding New Light on Sunscreen Absorption article that the FDA will allow companies extra time if they request it to submit new safety data. So if you're really into sunscreens like myself, you know that the US doesn't have that many compared to Japan, Korea, Europe, all those types of things. And the US has not gotten a new sunscreen since 1999. So this is the enforcement policy on OTC sunscreen drug products marketed without approval. So basically the difference between a prescription drug and a non-prescription drug is that a prescription drug will go through the FDA clinical trial process, which we will talk more about in a little bit. So the clinical trial process is basically for new drugs that have or drugs that don't have FDA approval for that indication, i.e., Latisse was originally for eye diseases. And they discovered that when people were using Latisse drops for their glaucoma or what have it, I can't remember exactly, so don't hold me to that, their eyelashes grew longer. So because of that, they formulated Latisse to create a drug that makes your eyelashes grow longer. So that's kind of how that process happens, i.e. Botox was originally approved for the 11s to inject it. Now it's approved for migraines and Botox and hyperhidrosis, or not Botox, but you guys know what I'm saying. So when drugs start out, they always start out to, they go through 3 rounds of clinical trials. They go to the FDA, they get approval. The FDA says, God bless, or it says, get out of here, you need more data, or just says, no way in hell, you're done. Your billions of dollars that you spent developing this drug, poof, gone, vanished. So with OTC drugs, the difference is that they are using commonly used chemical compounds that have already been approved by the FDA and considered safe. So currently in the US, the last time the FDA issued new guidance or new approval of sunscreens was in 1999. So yeah, I hadn't even graduated from high school then. So it's literally been 20 years since we've gotten a new sunscreen approval. So I'm just trying to find the lists that they actually approved. So a lot of these I haven't heard of. So we have our, PABA, which a lot of sunscreens over the counter are PABA free. There was some guidance put out about PABA sunscreens about a month ago, but most PABA products are prescription, so we're not going to go over that today. Avobenzone, which is in a lot of sunscreens. Sinosate, doxybenzone, that one's in a lot. Insulate, homosalate, I've seen that one. Metrodimate, which should be, that is the one. No, it's not in here. I believe that one is the one that La Roche-Posay tried to get. I believe that one's the one that's approved in France that they tried to get over to the US. Oxyzinostate, oxysalate, oxocrylene, oxybenzone, which is, the one that everyone's scared of right now. Paldamate, never heard of that one. Susobenzoine, titanium dioxide, that's a physical sunscreen. Triolamine silicate, and zinc oxide. So those are the chemical compounds that the FDA has approved to be in sunscreens. Also in this guidance, you will see basically everything that's on the package of a sunscreen, like your reapplying directions and all that. Basically, all the companies copy this, and they might have changed the font or something like that, and other things. And so basically in the 70s, when this actually goes through the whole research of sunscreens in the US, so when sunscreens were first approved of the 70s, anything with an SPF 2 to 15 was recommended. Because then people only wore it to protect against sunburn. And it was actually really fascinating to geek out on this. So if you guys want to really dive deep, I'll post a link for it as well. And they also discuss formulation. So creams, gels, aerosols, butter, paste, sticks, ointment, spray, and all those types of things. So this whole packet, or this whole rules thing, this one was updated in May of 2018, so a year ago. So this compliance will be updated, and most likely when I was referring to the last article, this is what would be updated and go out to manufacturers. So and in final advance of rule addressing these dosage forms, we generally do not intend to initiate enforcement action for OTC sunscreen products formulated in and only on the listed dosage forms if they comply with effective legal requirements and follow the recommendtions of this guidance. So basically, you won't have the FDA all over you as long as you follow these rules. So what's going to happen now is with this JAMA study is that the rules can change. So let's get into this. So first thing, just so we can all understand and be on the same page, is that I would consider this like a clinical trial. So I'll pull this up real quick. Or here, we'll do this first. So this is for Voltaren gel. This is actually something I use for my pain. So this is what's called a prescribing information. So when you are a pharmaceutical rep like I was for Marc, you have to memorize this for all your drugs that you carry. You need to know the pharmacokinetics, the clinical studies. You had to provide fair balance. You had to know how the drugs were metabolized, any warnings, contraindications, all those types of things. So every drug you get has this. You can look it up online on drugs.com or on the manufacturer's website. If you're, like your birth control pills or your asthma inhalers, drugs that come like pre-boxed and they just slap the RX label on the outside, will have this on the inside. So, and any drug rep that is sampling a doctor is supposed to give them the prescribing information as well too. Basically, it says, it's the book about the drug, if you will. And so when a drug gets FDA approval, a prescription drug, they have to go through several rounds of clinical trials. They have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, etc. So in this clinical trial, the trial size was 24 people. So in the FDA, this is a whole little, I'll post a link for this as well too. This is about clinical research and how trials are done. So this is one thing I wanted to clarify in this, is that a lot of people are getting reactionary, and I'm in a couple of moms groups, and people are already like, ah. And so I want to give you guys some fair balance, and so you guys can understand where we are in the process. So a phase 1 clinical trial is 20 to 100 healthy volunteers or people with a disease or condition. It lasts several months, and its purpose is for safety and dosage. At this stage, approximately 70% of drugs move forward to the next phase. So these clinical trials are people trials. In prescribing information, before they even get to people, they have to prove animal data. So you have to do animal data, otherwise the FDA is not going to let you test it on people. So if you're an animal rights activist, sorry, but that's the way it goes. So anyways, so basically the study is like a phase 1 clinical trial. It's just basically to set up some parameters. You're not going for your claims that the FDA would approve you for, etc. So per the FDA phase 1 guidelines, this is a trial of 24 people, healthy people, participants were randomized. Basically, they were put in groups, and they had a choice of 4 sunscreens. There's 2 sprays, a lotion, and a cream, and 2 milligrams of sunscreen per 1 centimeter squared was applied to 75% of the body's surface area 4 times per day for 4 days, and 30 blood samples were collected over 7 days for each participant. So they basically had an IV put into their arm. They were slathered with sunscreen, and this 2 milligrams per 1 centimeter. So centimeters like the size of your thumbnail. And so 2 milligrams is actually quite a bit. So that's one of the objections of this study, is that this is an excessive amount of sunscreen. Like, this is more than the recommended guidelines that the FDA put out. But I will tell you something, when they're doing these types of trials, is, especially for newer drugs, they want to try to get, they always want to go from the maximum data. They always want to be able to, they always test drugs to see what the strongest, safest dosage is, because if you're spending billions and billions of dollars, you're not going to spend your time on the lowest dose, spending all that money, and then have to go back to the FDA and get more and more and more approvals for higher doses, all those types of things. So just keep that in mind. They also were, so going back, that was side note. But going back to, you know, they were slattered in sunscreen. They were kept indoors, so they weren't outside. So this isn't them walking their dogs, sweating, being in the pool, all those types of things. And 30 blood samples over 7 days, that's a lot. So these people were, you know, probably in a clinical environment, kept inside, and, you know, had IV lines in, because that's the only way you can draw blood that many times a day without someone wanting to be like, get the hell away from me. And they tested to see what the absorption rate is. So for drugs, there are a couple different ways your body absorbs them. So these are topical medications. So they would be, you know, absorbed through your skin. So, sorry, I'm trying to find the page. Okay, so these are, hopefully Marc doesn't sue me for this, but there's no, I mean, this is just regular information. But these are how drugs are administered. So you have your topical, you have your transdermal. So transdermal, so your topicals would be like your acne medications, your Tazarac, your Metrogel, your Benzaclin, Differengel, which is now OTC. Your transdermal patch is actually something that goes, you know, deeper into the skin, and, you know, that would be like your nicotine patches, etc. Your pain patches, those types of things. They actually can, you know, they just don't change the level of the skin. They actually go deeper into the bloodstream. So with them applying this, you could see why the doses in the bloodstream would be higher. And they said the main outcomes of the maximum plasma concentration was avobenzone. The secondary outcomes were the maximum plasma concentration of oxybenzone, octocrylene, and imascul. So oxybenzone has been taken out of a lot of sunscreens. Sunbum, for example, doesn't have it. Your It Cosmetics, your Bare Republic, I believe Supergoop doesn't have it. So a lot of the more, even more high-end sunscreens don't have it. However, Neutrogena still uses it. But the avobenzone, that's still in a lot of products. That one hasn't been ruled, at least not yet, unsafe. So basically with this, it's saying that these means were much higher than what the recommended guideline is from the FDA. And the most common adverse side effect was rash. They saw that in each sunscreen, which I can totally believe that, because I am hypersensitive and sun sensitive, and I do break out in a rash. And that's pretty standard. You know, when you're putting this much of any medication on someone's body, someone getting a rash, that's pretty common. That wouldn't be like shocking in some prescribing information. And so the conclusions were, in this preliminary study involving healthy volunteers, the application of 4 commercially available sunscreens under maximal use conditions resulted in plasma concentrations, so plasma that's like in your blood serum, exceeded the threshold established by the FDA for potentially waiving some non-clinical toxicology studies for sunscreens. The systematic absorption of sunscreen ingredients supports the need for further studies to determine the clinical significance of these findings. These results do not indicate that individuals should refrain from the use of sunscreen. So you still need to wear sunscreen. So now what do we do with all of this? And just so you know, this they had people all over the FITS chart in this. I'll show you guys real quick. So these are the participants in the study. So you guys can kind of, I'll post a link to this, but basically this is the breakdown, the demographics of the clinical trial. So they also had Fitzpatrick skin types. They didn't have anyone that was number 1, which this is a Fitzpatrick skin typing chart. I actually use this for my sunless tan clients to help formulate and color, mix their colors when they come in to see me. But you have 6 levels. Number 1 is basically someone like me that doesn't really tan. I'm actually like a 1 1.5, 2. But tans little or all, burns easily, severely then peels, most often with fair skin, blue eyes, freckles, red hair, you know, very, very fair people. And then 2, which is usually burns severely, tans minimally, also peels, people with fair skin, blue or hazel eyes, check, blonde, check. And this is all reactions in the sun without suntan lotion. So, and then you have, you know, like your level 5 really burns, tans easily and substantially, always inhibits IPD, which is immediate pigment darkening. Basically, you go out in the sun and you just get that nice tan right away. And this says brown skin persons whose unexposed skin is brown, East Indians, Hispanics, etc. And then like your level 6 would be Africans, African Americans, Australians, and South Indian Aborigines. So that's kind of how they used in the trial, how they made sure they covered, you know, all skin tone spectrums, because it is an OTC drug, so it needs to be safe on every skin and all those types of things. So what should we do about this? So we've talked about the clinical research data, OTC, and all those types of things. So what you need to know and what you need to take away from this is that you should still be using sunscreen. And basically, to quote Bloomberg, the FDA needs to, this is from an article from 2018, like our FDA needs to get with it. Like the part of the reason why this study came out and why we are having these problems is because the FDA hasn't approved a new sunscreen since 1999. In Europe, in France, well, France is in Europe, Korea, Japan, they have a multitude of sunscreens that are less toxic, more effective. I mean, if you've been a Vogue reader or a Allure reader, or, you know, since I was a kid, they would talk about people bringing cases of sunscreen from France over to the US and trying to get them through customs and all those types of things because it's just so much better. So hopefully what comes out of this is that the FDA finally gets their stuff together and approves more sunscreens, because if they decide to take out this M capsule, I don't know where that's from, but at least the avobenzone, the oxybenzone, let me see if this, okay, this has the odocrylene. I mean, you're taking away, if they say, you know, can't use these chemicals anymore, these chemical sunscreens anymore, you're taking away a lot of sunscreen. And, you know, a lot of people might be saying, oh, wear physical sunscreen. Well, yes, you can wear titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. However, with people with darker skin tones, that's going to show, and they might not wear sunscreen because everyone wants to like not have a big white patch of sunscreen. And that's one thing that's harder for someone like It Cosmetics. When they were formulating, they didn't want to use chemical sunscreens in their products, but unfortunately, once you get deeper in your foundation range and you have a chemical sunscreen or physical sunscreen in there, it will start to ash out the foundation. So, you know, this is a huge deal for us as Americans, and there's something that we really need the FDA to step up and take a leadership role on. And one thing I will say is, if you are, now that it's becoming summer, like still wear your sunscreen. Definitely do that. However, if you are someone who is applying it 4 times a day, and in the 2 ounces that they recommend, which what they quote in the study was significantly over the 2 ounce recommendation, and most people who even apply it all over don't even get to the 2 ounces. So, you know, there are other options for you. I just grabbed a few. You could wear a lovely rash guard. This is my Volcom rash guard. I love it. Granted, you don't get like the hot swimsuit pick, but you know what? I believe this one's SPF 50. You know, keep you good. Another thing that I like to wear, this is from Coolabar. This is their SPF hat. This one has a SPF of 50. You could wear wetsuits. You could wear, like Sports Illustrated just had really the blue turquoisey bikini, I can't remember the model's name, you know, something to consider if you're very fair, very sun sensitive, and, you know, stay in the shade. There's also umbrellas that you can get that have SPF 50 plus in them. I have some of those. We put, in our backyard, we put up the SPF fabric over our swing set, so we, you know, so that way our kids could be on the swings and not get sunburnt. So unfortunately, you know, don't go out and throw away all your sunscreen. Use it, and, you know, still keep buying it. If you can use a physical sunscreen, use it. But, you know, if you're like me and a makeup artist, chemical sunscreens don't give flashbacks. So, you know, that's something to consider too. They won't, titanium dioxide and zinc oxide reflect. So, whereas chemical sunscreens don't do that. So, you know, there's still a lot to digest with this. I hope this video gave you some perspective on it. I hope you learned some things in the process. And I will shoot another one as soon as the FDA gives guidance. But most likely this process is going to be really drawn out, because there's going to be manufacturers, almost all of them will probably be like, WTF, like, you know, these are all the sunscreens. These are like the top chemical sunscreens that people use. So, so this will be an ongoing issue. So, but that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please follow me on Instagram and on Facebook at Bryttannee, Bryttannee. Subscribe to my channel and post any comments or questions in the comments below, and I'll get back to you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Talk to you later.